Mic check, mic check. Coming through. Ooh, I'm coming through loud. Okay. Hey, way to make an entrance, huh? Alrighty, y'all know what time it is. It is, you know, gotta have crystal clear. Hey, it's my dog F Life 45. Howdy. What is going? Thank you for being. Big shout out to my lurkers. Sorry, I had to audio. Just make. I was saying earlier, how's everyone's day? It's start of the week Tuesday. I know we ain't got much going. If you're at work, sorry. What to tell you? And tell you, watch club. We about to jump into this motherfucking watch club. Now, I just want to say I was 110% certain that I already did an episode 12, and I did like a part 1 because I remember doing it and being like, I have COVID. I have to like split the episodes in two, right? So I did a part 1 and I was going to come back and do a part 2. But then Twitch did a funny thing and it was already deleted. It was already gone. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do the entire episode over. So, yay, we are going to be doing the entirety of season 1, episode 12 of Empresses in the Palace. Make sure you are double checking what episodes we are on. It is episodes 55 through 59. Sure that, where are we? Hey, got that script up though. Got my review in the background. Make sure that we are all following along with episodes 55 through 59. I know it's a little bit of confusion. Like I said, I missed the date in which, because you only have a certain amount to keep your videos, and I didn't download it apparently because I couldn't find it in my library, and Twitch had already deleted it. You're doing episode 12, Watch Club. If you are unfamiliar, well, howdy. My name is Ada09, also known as HPMP Restored on YouTube, and I just want to let you know that Watch Club is just a weekly review of my favorite show, movie, what have you, whatever I just happen to watch in that particular. And season 1 is focusing on a really titular drama by the Empresses in the Palace, aka The Legend of Zhen Huan. This is a Chinese television series based on the same name. I believe the author, Liu Lianzi. Liu Lianzi. I believe that is the author. Okay. Now, if you do want to catch all 76 episodes, they are fully uploaded onto YouTube. But you have noticed, because of the hiatus we took maybe about a month and a half ago, the episodes are only up until, or excuse me, the episodes are only Englishly translated up until, that's not even a word, English translated up until episode 54. So I had to like work a little bit because I had to wait for some of those episodes, which is fine because the translation team up, and I know getting translated approved and accurate, it takes time. I definitely didn't mind waiting, but I'm impatient. I started watching the episode without translations, and though I could infer happening, I know what was happening. And then I found like one off website that I thought I could watch it. Horrible subject. I kind of just like went with it for like 3 episodes, and I was like, I'm fat, done. I'm fucking done. Get shit out of here. And I just moved on. I continued because I had up until, if it was 54, right? So I did episode 55, 56, and 57 with somewhat, I wouldn't say inaccurate translations, but just more or less jumbled, like they were putting words, like you could tell it was fed through like a Google Translate type of program. It wasn't like someone sat down and actually translated it themselves. So it was like I got the gist of what was happening, but I also like had to do some extra brain work to fit it all together. I say that to say this. Episodes 58 and 59 in particular, I was able to actually perfect translation after I don't know how many months of doing season 1 chat. I finally found good translations for the entire series of Zhen Huan, the Legend of. So with that being said, we're gonna hop straight into episode 55. Honestly, what a way to bring in episode 55. If you guys haven't remembered, Concubine Wan, we call her Concubine Wan because even though she's technically Ultra and she's still in the nunnery, she's resumed of her affair with the Emperor. She thinks Young Li is dead, right? Turns out she ends up pregnant, and like all of this kind of ensues, and the Empress is involved, the Empress Dowager is involved, and pretty much everyone is either wholly against, aka the Empress, Zhen Huan coming back and her resuming power, or like obviously in her camp because they need her to come back. Like they know without her and her stabilizing, and not her literally stabilizing the court, but through her relations with the Emperor, she's able to tame and temper him and counsel him in a way that pretty much benefits everybody. Right? She doesn't monopolize like Consort Hua, right? She's not a bitch. She's a boss. Either way. Small recap there. The way to start off this episode, you guys remember the Empress Dowager had just dealt with the fourth prince being poisoned or near poisoned, right? And obviously all evidence pointed to the Empress. Empress Dowager has had enough, tired of the imperial offspring being killed off. She's sick and tired of having to clean up after the Empress. She's to be honest, she's really doing it for selfish like reasons. She very much understands that she installed the Empress in this Empress, by the way, because she's a step Empress, second official of the Empress. The Empress Dowager like purposely installed her because she knew it would, one, continue the glory of their family because they come from the same clan, and also it would just raise the status of her overall, her being the I need some water. I'm talking too much. Easily. I need. Anyways, moving on. So, like I said, way to start off the episode, the Empress Dowager, who dealt with once again another of her grandchildren being poisoned by her. I don't want to say lackey, but her, the person in her camp, the person on her fucking up the plans. They fumbling the ball, basically. She's sick and tired of it, right? And so she immediately sets up this effort. And when I say effort, I mean like effort, or excuse me, when I say effortlessly, there we go. When I say effortlessly, I truly mean like effortless. She asked like maybe 3 or 4 questions of the Empress and pretty much solidified like this countermeasure against the Empress and like all the scheming she's doing. Because once again, she's scheming against Concubine Wan right now. And of course, we know who the Empress is. It's not gonna stop her. Not many people can really stop the Empress at this point. Because even she's even going to the point where she wants to control the Emperor too much, right? Because after the Empress Dowager is talking with the Empress, they set up this countermeasure. The Emperor himself has set up countermeasures of his own, and the Empress Dowager and the Emperor kind of understand why they're setting up the countermeasures in the way that they do, and I'll explain the measures themselves. But like I said, they're both doing for their own selfish reasons, but it's for the end goal, right? And this pisses off the Empress, right? And this is why I'm saying that no one can really stop her, because at this point, not even 5 minutes from leaving the Empress Dowager and the Emperor, the Empress is running over to Concubine An and trying to literally like mind control the fucking Emperor. When I say mind control, she's like scheming like this formula, and I say scheming because I want you to really understand the severity of it mean to me. She's It wasn't even a one. It was just so small. Game. Anyways, she's literally coming up with this really shit plan with concubine on to use incense and spice to influence his mind in such a way that she can over time erode his affection and care for concubine Juan, and therefore change his mind about bringing her in, right? And I'm telling you, that's a real indication of her character and how at this point, like, not even the emperor, like the emperor longing for one, this woman, and having one or two absolute power, and just was like, I'm gonna do whatever. Not even that is enough to, at least stop the empress, and if not necessarily stop her entirely, stop her like currently, and allow her to like just sit back and let shit happen, and then, then exact revenge, right? But concubine Ange doesn't have any skills, right? And she or not any skills. She doesn't have the skill to actually do. She doesn't know how to mix these. Yes, the Empress is the real enemy. She's like dead ass. Like, we're 55 episodes in, and out of like 70, by the way, we're still kicking. But the Empress has been the enemy the entirety of this. That everything is. By the way, F Life, thank you for sticking in. 12 episodes into this. I know all this sounds crazy. I know all of this sounds unfamiliar, but I appreciate you tuning in and just, talking to me. That's awesome, bro. But anyways, moving on. Moving on, chat. Resulting in, what was I saying? Yes, resulting in the Empress, like, coming up with this false bravado, right? In a way, she's like, she literally, for quotes, as verbatim, it would be better for concubine Juan to return to the palace, as she, the Empress, is able to actually keep more of a network of spies and keep an eye on her, essentially, right? So she puts on this false bravado because, just listening, it is very interesting. It's very interesting. It's very drama filled, it's very, I don't know if it's accurate to say like telenovela of, Chinese drama for the time, but there are elements from that I see, and I'm saying this as an American. There's elements that I see in both, so it's very dramatized, but this particular C-drama in itself was beloved simply because of how the dramatics was put out. Also, the costumes and the settings and the time were really, really elevated. But if you ever get a time to like watch it, like Zhen Huan becomes, she morphs, like, and I say the actress suddenly is able to morph this pure, like, doe-eyed 15-year-old girl into this cold, like, heartless, cunning viper of a woman in like less than like 5 years. And she, like, in the story, by the way, and suddenly the actress, to me, portrayed that in such a way that, like, when you're seeing the transition slowly from the movements that she's doing, you're like, oh, this is fucking crazy. Well, this girl's about to do. And then granted, she also had help. She has people helping her, but I'm getting off track. Let's hop back into it. Let me not unlock myself on that, because I'll go on forever on Zhen Huan. She's an awesome character. But like I was saying, concubine An doesn't have any skills. She can't do what she wants. She can't do what the emperor wants, or empress wants. And the empress is like, she's basically faking it. And she's like, you know what, fuck it. I'll be able to handle her on my own. She'll be in my domain and whatnot. But the next scene really, really showcases what the emperor will do for like this like seamless transition slash like return to for concubine Juan, simply because, and when I say like these are big, big things for her, like in history context, for him to have done this, yes, he's the emperor, but a lot of the decisions that he's done, and like I said, the countermeasures essentially to set up anyone plotting against Zhen Huan when she comes back, is really mind-blowing to me. So he actually raises her family banner, from the lower 5, the Han banner, to the upper 3, the Manchu banner, right? So raising her status, right? Sure, she wasn't some, she wasn't some like poor or by far low class. If anything, she was definitely noble. She was in a noble class, but now she's in a upper noble class, and the top ones. At this time, we're in the Qing dynasty. It's ruled by the Manchus, the Manchurian people. So from her to go from Han, which is technically second class citizen in this time, so to go from Han banner to Manchu banner is a really big deal. So the emperor does that. he changes her actual surname and clan name, to be exact, from Jen to Neohuru, or Neohurush is how they pronounce it, from what I'm understanding, hoping I pronounce. And so, once again, Manchu banner, now Manchu clan name, right? She will be becoming the fourth prince's adoptive mother. So this was the grandson that, you know, was getting threatened and almost pretty much died and got killed off by the empress episode ago. And he's pretty much being, he pretty much is being like protected. Yes, that's right. He's being protected and like shadowed and make sure he's cared for by the empress dowager. So she gets to be his adoptive mother, right? You have to understand, not only is this a big deal in terms of what it can do and like for hers to Gen 1 herself, but this is a big deal for the end. She didn't have any competition, or from what we've seen, she didn't think she had any competition per se for her son's position in terms of inheriting the throne. She's more or less concerned about her position in being dowager. That's her big problem. But now Gen 1, who's not even Gen 1 anymore, she's Neo Hurush, Wan, or no, uh, what's her? Neo Huru Gen 1, excuse me, is how you say it. Aha, got that one right. That's a brownie point for me. Anyways, now, like I was saying, the Empress has to deal with the fact that her rival, who's coming back in the palace, who's been promoted to the upper class and has gotten an upper class clan's backing via a last name change, surname change. She also now has an able-bodied and learned prince who could possibly vie for the throne himself, right? And that's not even it. He even ages her up 10 years because technically the fourth prince is 17, I believe, at the time, right? And she's 22, right? That's too close in age. So obviously they're like, no, she's 32, right? So he's even the emperor. He's doing all this. He's doing all this rule bending. He's even willing to age her up 10 years in order for it to look like, oh yeah, this is his mom. This is someone who hasn't been here in the palace but has now returned, and she's coming to get her son, right? Making it more appropriate for the return and for her to even adopt him, as well as upgrading her rank in the royal harem. So she's no longer a concubine, she's a consort now. Which, if you guys didn't know, there are levels to this shit. And it's just like, think of it as a ranking kind of thing. You go from like bronze to silver to gold being the empress, but there's a lot more levels in between. But she at this point, she's hit like silver with all of this shit. And last but not least, just to put a little cute little bow on top, he gives her a new honorary title. And it's funny because the translation, the YouTube video translation, has it as lumière, which is a French word for light. And he's talking about how this name change for her is supposed to signify this light returning back into the world and back into the palace and the beautiful golden light, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, so all of this just to make sure she's, one, not attacked for being shunned out of the palace, not attacked for maybe being pregnant and pregnant out of the palace, because you know people are people going to be sus about that. They're like, yeah, it's the emperor's kid, right? You know. And then she also, to even further solidify her position overall, has been elevated in her honorary title and her status, as well as having an extra son. That's crazy. He decided all of this in like a night. Like, you don't even understand. That normally takes years, if that, and you have to, like, you know, garner some merit in a way. You know, you have to have done something for the country in a way that, like, you've done that. But that's how much he's willing, and I guess in a way also showing us, the viewers, like how much he's willing to love and like show that love for her that no one in the court, no one in the harem, no one at all can question her return, and her children in general, right? And you have to understand, mind you, while the Emperor is laying out all these plans, the Empress is like stopping him at every fucking turn. Every single opposing view you could think of against each and every like additional countermeasure, she thought it out and was like, oh, but what about this? But oh, you didn't think of this, and it's like, damn, girl. Like she literally like relents like when she realizes the Emperor has like, oh no, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna make sure, like, I thoroughly planned this, girl. I'm gonna make sure she returns. My girl, that girl's pregnant with my baby. You understand? Can't be no baby daddy. I gotta be a husband. You know. And so, like I said, the Empress, realizing that she literally could do nothing to change his mind, shuts the fuck up and moves. So everything is being thoroughly prepared. It's probably been a few days because we move on back to Lingyang Peak, where Jin Shi and consort she doesn't know it yet, but consort Light, or consort Shi in Mandarin, excuse me, are having this really heart-to-heart discussion about how she has to proceed in the future. Now that they're returning to the palace, she has to literally leave everything behind. That includes every single kind notion that she has within herself. Leave your heart in the fucking fire pit and not on your sleeve, okay? Because you have to be cruel in order to survive. You have to you can't even be mad, because that shows that you have feelings, that you care. No, you got to be cruel. You can't care for nothing. As soon as some shit, like, and I really understand what Jinshi is saying, and at this point in time, I would agree, and I would also, you know, kind of counsel, like, myself, or if I was in this position as a maid, I would counsel my person to understand that there are very few people that you can trust, and even those people at some point in time will turn against you if it means saving their family, right? Because you're your family, but they actually have like three brothers at home, two sisters at home, or four people in a single home, and then you're here in the palace serving, right? So I definitely understand where Jinshi's coming from, and I really do appreciate the writers for including that, because that's such a realistic worldview. Like, let's be real. Zhen Huan has suffered. She's miscarried, right? Been betrayed. Her father's been literally shipped off to like the coldest part of China, Ninguta, and has been literally slowly poisoned in jail. Mind you, he's old. He's like 60. So you know that man is more than likely not gonna last, right? And then after all of that, right? Still got set up by the Empress. Empress kind of in somewhat set her up in this, she was wearing the clothing of the former Empress, pissed off the Emperor. He like slapped the shit out of her. Like, I mean, slapped you. You want to talk about like pimp slap? I was like, how did they get that sound effect in there? Because that sounded real. But yeah, he slapped her because it was seen as like this great disrespect, and then pretty much isolated her, right? And she felt dejected, and through all that dejection and being disillusioned with the Emperor, she finds out she's pregnant again, right? But it doesn't matter, because the Emperor doesn't really care for her as he's once did. He still mad at her, and the Empress is taking full advantage. So at this point in time, Zhen Huan has been through so much, and Jinshi is like, listen, bitch, keep doing this shit, you won't fucking die in here, okay? And we trying to live good now that we're going back. And we're going back, and she doesn't know it yet, but they're going back on such a high note, on such a big pedestal, well deserving, in my opinion, that she has no reason not to safeguard that. You have so much to live for now. There's no reason why you should be trying to play favorites. You should be trying to play like games with it. No. It's time to cut that shit out. But anyways, Su Peshong, he eventually arrives to deliver the Emperor's decree, and that pretty much just like sets in stone Consort Shi's retribution. She's here, and we also have rank updates. For those of you that don't know, rank updates are this little cute thing that I do in between episodes in which I like, for some reason I just like knowing the titles and like the ranks of the royal harems. It's just always been intriguing to me. The back palace, I've always just like, why does this person call this person that, and and pretty much the rule of ancestry, I think it's called, and how seniority plays a huge part in who follows whose rules and who gets more of a leniency if shit happens, or all that good shit. And in this case, it sounds really cool, the names that they give these women. So this is what a rank update. It is broken into two parts: older and newer. Older pretty much refers to the women not necessarily older in the palace, some of them are, but they have just particularly been in the harem at the start of the show, and just overall have just been there like and the entirety. The newer, and not necessarily younger, but typically are, the newer class is just all the concubines that have started, or not started, have entered the harem continuously and throughout the show, and have somewhat stayed, or got killed off or whatever. And I do update if they drop in rank or if they go up in rank, right? So currently in the older class, we have one empress, we have three consorts, consort Shi, which is our Neohuru's Denwan, that's her new title. We have consort Duan, and we have consort Jing. We also have one noble lady in the older class, noble lady Xin, right? In the newer class, we have four concubines: concubine An, concubine Qi, concubine Hui, and concubine Zhen. We had one noble lady in the newer class, noble lady Ning, and then one first class attendant, which is attendant Kang. Some of the initial titles are like reworked translation wise in the YouTube version, so don't worry about that. Just go to the Wikipedia and you'll be able to match up names and titles and who's who eventually. I just will say, don't read what's going on in Wikipedia if you can, because you will spoil yourself. That being said, let's hop back into it. I want to get a quick audio check. Perfect. We're good. We're good. And honestly, as if on cue, to be like right, since we're jumping right back into it, like the drama comes like immediately. And this is what I mean, like telenovela style, bro. So Prince Gao, who's apparently been dead for like 4 months, right? And pretty much the catalyst as to why consort Shi has had to do what she's had to do, and pretty much throw herself back into the fire, is because we thought he wasn't going to return. But lo and behold, a huge resulting pile of shit and problems and all that good shit has come back in the form of Prince Gao, because he's not actually dead. Dun dun dun. Right? And we pretty much already know how this is gonna go. Consort, she's literally just got her title. And I mean literally, it's like been a couple hours. Like, she just got her title, dude. It's like official. She can't say no, right? The decree has been made. It's written into law at this point. And pretty much unable to hear the news from his mother, because he returns to his mother first, traditional filial piety and all that good shit. He returns to his mother, and she pretty much tells him what happened, while he was gone. And unable to take that news, he kind of just runs immediately off. Like, he just decides to go find consort Shi himself, and hear it from the horse's mouth. And so as soon as he finds her, side note, by the way, because obviously they're going to be crying and sad and whatnot, and consort Shi can't really show it, right? A side note, why the fuck, is Jade, aka Huan B, her sister, who's also her maid, hugging all over him like that? Why are you just sobbing and pretty much just wetting up his shirt like that? Big dog, I understand it's been a subtle hint that there's a thing he has for him. I get it. But like, that's literally your sister's ex man 4 months ago. What are you doing? Okay? Anyways. But like, as quickly as the relationship had began, it's gone. It abruptly ended like that in a matter of months. and consort Shi being very ashamed. Perfect. Text message. Okay, we're good. But yeah, consort Shi, she's like pretty much ashamed and embarrassed because um I yeah, I get it. She's pregnant with his baby, right? But no one knows that but them, right? And she was banished to be on this temple, this nunnery, by herself to live in isolation for herself. So how could she end up pregnant, right? So the fact that she thought that Prince Gao was dead and no one was going to be there to take care of her because, being pregnant out of wedlock was definitely frowned upon back then. You're pretty much a prostitute at that point. Um, just pretty much like sealed the deal that she had to like plan for herself, and that was through convincing the emperor that yay babes, I see that you added me, woo, on Steam. Sorry about that. I need to slow down and read proper. I just clicked on your message and I was like, yeah, I thought you said my stream title, not Steam. And then when I went to Steam, I don't know what happened. Like it says '09 on Steam for me, but I don't know. Maybe I fucked up that too. But yay, we're added. I'll see you later, 3:30 on the dot. But anyways, chat, back to Watch Club. Can't forget about Watch Club. Yeah, like I said, she couldn't be a woman out of wedlock, and especially, or she couldn't be a pregnant woman out of wedlock, right? Especially since she was that of the a concubine to the emperor, right? So how did she get pregnant? And so this is her plans, and she's ashamed to face, this man because she doesn't she doesn't want to like she doesn't want to tell him the truth. She wants to treat it as like I'm this heartless person and I'm so ashamed of how heartless I could be, which is so comical and so hypocritical at the same time. It's like, girl, do you hear yourself? And of course, this is confusing Prince Gal because he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I've been gone for like 4 months, and then you're going back to the palace. I mean, shit, I know I was gone, but damn, that's a quick recovery time. Like, what the hell?" And so she like abruptly runs into the little shack house that she's staying at, right? And so I'm like, okay, of course she's gonna have to like figure something out. And lo and behold, in the next scene, Wan B, she was asked by Consort Chi to go to Prince Gal, talk to him, and tell him, hey, she wants to meet with you, or Consort Chi wants to meet with you, and she wants to talk it out, right? So he just scurries off, and this is pretty much a hard scene, and like this is what I meant to me personally, seeing Zhen Huan, or excuse me, well, yeah, Zhen Huan, Neo Hudish Zhen Huan, seeing Consort She break Prince Gao's heart like that and become this cruel, heartless person. It's for a good reason. It's the same reason his mother, um, Venerable Abscess Serene, his mother, who also happens to live at the nunnery, So, um, his mother was stating earlier that why she shouldn't tell him about the pregnancy, and like if she did, don't tell him it's his child. So she's breaking his heart in this cruel way, and we see that in this meeting because he's trying to figure out why are you going back, and then he's like, oh, okay, you're pregnant, but what happened? Like, I don't understand. I was only gone for like 3 months. Did you really wanted to see the emperor that bad? And she was just like, I had to plan for myself. I had to figure things out, and then when I did meet the emperor, I got pregnant with his baby. So I can't live in a nunnery and give birth to that baby. I want to live good. I want to, you know get my parents out of Ninguta. I want to make sure my dad's safe. She's basically saying that, one, because yes, she's pregnant with the emperor's baby, obviously she can't like live in like this shack type of establishment thing. But two, she also wants a good life for her and her family and now her future kids. And the emperor's the only person that could do that for her. Pretty much lying straight to this guy's face. I see the cruelness, I see the cold heartedness, I see what she's doing. It just fucking sucks. And it was a really, really hard scene. They did say, little words of affection there, towards each other at the end. But eventually they both go their separate ways. Prince Gal, is like he doesn't regret any of the time they spent together. In concert, she wishes him like true happiness with the next woman, and he decides to love. And I thought that was really sweet because I don't know if she means it, but I assume that she does. Because if there's one thing in life, especially in like back in this time, that you could probably have so much scarcity of was just happiness, right? Especially living in the palace when dealing with like we call it espionage, they call it intrigue, but dealing with the consort, the constant schemes and infighting and the killing of babies and hanging women and all that shit, like you get fucking tired. There's not a lot of happiness to be found, right? So for her to say that she wishes him true happiness with the next person he wants to love, I thought was a really nice touch. Anyways, moving on. Hydration station over here. Damn, I need to refill my. Anyways, after all is said and done between those two, Prince Gal, he has to officially return to the palace. And like this, almost like I know it's a sign of respect, but it's almost like the emperor like wanted to slap him in the face, like a immediate like twist of the knife into his fucking bleeding heart. Okay, the emperor has him because no one else wants to has him become the escort for consort Shi, right, and her entourage overall. Pretty much citing that no one in the court wants to take the job or whatever. Everyone's pretty much scared and dealing with consort Shi because it would look bad coming from like someone who's not initially part of that faction to then do a favor for that faction. All this bullshit, all this me versus you bullshit. And so the emperor like particularly asks Prince Gao simply because he knows that Prince Gao doesn't take sides. Like Prince Gao has pretty much been the easygoing of like his brothers, and so he kind of trusts him a little bit more. And he's like, I trust you, and this I wanted to show the significance of her arrival, that type of thing. And then he also tops it off by saying we're gonna take nearly half the men and guards that an empress would have. I want her to feel just fucking I want her to feel my love and my might by just having her this huge having like her delivered in this huge entourage, right? And what woman doesn't like a nice car? What woman doesn't like a nice Bentley just waiting for her, A nice range with a cute bow on it. I'm just saying, I get it. But at this point, Prince Gao is just like, "Oh fuck. Can you not? Like you can see it in his face. He's like, out of all the things to ask me, bro, why?" And he reluctantly agrees, right? And I thought he really would have like backed down for once, but no, he agrees. And I guess in his own way, he still wants to be there for Consort Chi, but hey, I don't know, dude. I don't think you can really be there for her and all now. But we're never far from the drama, okay? Never far from it. The Empress, Concubine An, Concubine Chi, um, are pretty much just all sitting around and stoking the fire of like, oops, stoking the flames of plots and just pretty much like having this powwow of how to bring down Consort Shi and how to like destroy her return, basically make her look bad. And in the end, the Empress decides like a two-pronged kind of approach. She's gonna have Concubine on pretty much try and get close to Consort Shi again, because she states that like you're most aware of what she's like and how she thinks, I guess, and would be the most like apt to kind of like do like the groundwork and be close to her. And then she's gonna have Concubine Chi use her father and his position as a court official to pretty much slander Consort Shi at any point in time, like she's brought up in court. So yeah, good, good people we have here. Um, We also see that the Empress kind of, for some reason, entrusts out of the two concubines. Excuse me. Uh, Out of the two concubines, that concubine An will probably be the one to serve the emperor the most in bed. Which I thought was interesting on its own, because like, what's the motivation behind that decision? Like, why her, right? And so it kind of creates this rift, like it kind of creates like this obvious uncomfortable air, right? And concubine she gets like pissy, and concubine An gets arrogant, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they don't like each other clearly. But now that like concubine An is servicing the emperor more and more, concubine Chi um is probably more or less like gonna start gunning for concubine An, and that might be an issue on its own that maybe the Empress did or didn't plan for, because I feel like she is aware and is trying to capitalize on it, but at the same time like use them to like take out, or not take out, like use them to like indirectly deal with problems. There you go. But anyways, finally the day has come. The return to the palace is near and dear, and consort she is anything but happy, bro. Like she's lamenting about like how the beautiful hairpins and the jewelry that she now wears feel like chains, and that they're locking her away from her happiness, right? And I paused at 36:20. Yes, exact. And because like I was like, wow. Wow, this is a really good actress. Like that freeze frame. Wait, is this a book or a movie? It's a TV show. It's a C drama. It's based off a book though. The book is a little more realistic, I think, but it still has like palace intrigue. But what was it? Yes. 36:20 in this episode kind of hit me a little harder, because I just happened to stare at Consort Chi's face and like how they freeze framed on her a little bit. And while beautiful, she looks like a rose with thorns. Like you can see the shift in who she is physically, right? And who she's had to become physically. And she's just staring, looking into the mirror. She's not grimacing or anything like that. Not smiling, no. She's just looking at herself. And I'm looking at her, look at her. And yeah, I get what they were doing there, and I really fuck with that, because honestly, this is not the Zhen Huan from 55 episodes ago, right? I don't even think this is the same Zhen Huan from like 2 episodes ago. Like this is complete like flip of switch change that we see in our character that was so subtly done that I just I loved it. Chef's kiss, right? And I love that we get to see the emotional growth of the character, right? Of course, it's you have a lot of episodes, you have a lot of to work with, but I love that it's not filler, right? I love that you get to see a lot more um than just like from her being like catty and like, or from her starting off meek to then like the complete opposite, but you only get like maybe 1 or 2 scenes where she decides to make that change, whereas no, we've seen years upon years of like Zhen Huan becoming this person. But also, because he is the knight in shining armor, Prince Gao, who's there waiting to escort consort, she has a little bit of a transformation on his own, Um, and I see he becomes like this stoic, like I said, knight in shining armor. He becomes this stoic man, and he almost breaks. You can see he almost breaks a little bit, right? But he kind of puts on this brave mask face, and that's the complete opposite from the Prince Gao that we have seen and have been shown even up until this point. He, not that he's an open book, but he says how he feels, and he knows he's gonna stick to, like, he's always gonna be able to stick to him, and not stick to him. Always, like, what am I trying to say? He'll never compromise himself, because he's always been able to stick to his principles. There we go. But yeah, they've changed. They've completely changed, and you can tell that both are heartbroken at. We still see Juan B all over Prince Gal, though I don't think that's ever gonna change. I think she's kind of gonna swoop in there at one point. And then, oh yes, last but least, little juicy tidbit. Right before we left, and I say right before we left, Consort Shi walked to the edge of the nunnery. All the nuns, the maids, the staff, and the servants greeted her. And prior string by that, the one fucking nun who gave her the like the worst of the worst treatment and just probably like added to the like the pain and frustration she went through while being there because she was there for 3 years. She finally gets to fucking get her lick back, right? And so she spares her life, right? But consort she spares her life, but she tells her she'll no longer be a prioress. She'll just be a regular nun, and she'll have to like start from the bottom, all over again. Which I'm sure that's gonna come back to bite consort she in the ass because I'm pretty sure you gotta kill that girl. Like she doesn't like you at all. But that is the end of episode 55. Final thoughts. I know I said the actual show was about to begin. I know I said all that. I know I said that's what it was gonna be 2 episodes ago. No. Now it's gonna begin. We have the newly titled Legend of Zhen Huan, aka motherfucking consort she, aka bad bitch, aka don't fucking try her, is back, right? She has pretty much paved the way for a smooth landing into the palace. But we also see that people are plotting behind her back. We see the Empress is working hard on her downfall, right? She's pretty much reconciled with the Emperor. It's pretty much a form of protection for her and the kids that she's gonna give birth to. So you gotta make sure you gotta have a dad for that kid, bro. Especially in these times. Conveniently, who's actually not the father, by the way. It's actually her ex boo, Prince Gao. We are heading straight into episode 55. No, lies, 56 of Empresses in the Palace, The Legend of One, 2011 series. Once again, remember, this is 76 episodes. All 76 episodes can be YouTube. However, just want to let you know, translations are only up until that being said, let's hop back into it. And you guys remember what happened from the last episode. No need to recap, right? Because the beginning scene, like, is already echo sentiment time from what I was just saying, or last, excuse me, from what I was saying. This beautiful transition of her walking like towards the green and like her posture and the memories that are flowing and reminiscing throughout while she things doing this walk pretty much highlight you know the many different people, the many different circumstances that have changed since consort she has become who she is today since she first entered the palace. And soon enough the time for reminiscing short. All the women in the palace, not excuse me, all the women in the harem I should say, all the concubines, the women of the palace have all come with the emperor and the empress, because remember she's head of the palace, female figurehead of the palace, to greet consort she. Of course, you have to understand, not drama without drama. Okay, everybody's getting like little put shots off. Okay, everyone's getting their little remarks. Right. Obviously, though, consort she has already had all the prep talks she's gonna have, and she's fully prepared. I'm pretty sure she's prepared for this since the emperor decided to bring her back in the first place. I can only imagine, the things she's built up in the past few days in order to predict or protect herself or defend against the things, let alone like shitty verbal assaults, which she pretty much shuts down. The rebuttals leave no room for argument, and obviously the actual people are only there to actually like see her and enjoy her presence and welcome her back are consort Jing and concubine Hui, her true friends of the palace. After that little tobacco and like soon after, we get a nice tour of consort she's palace. It's newly refurbished, should I might add, and I say that because that becomes a point of contention later, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We see that the bedchamber, apparently, that area, Concubine An has personally, um, delivered her an incense burner with apparently a long since forgotten fragrance from the Tang Dynasty. And if we remember, Concubine Island likes to fuck around with shit with scents and herbs and stuff. And so I say interesting enough that they allowed her to place that in the chamber, knowing, well, not knowing, but knowing that what we know in terms of her miscarrying, that the emperor was like, oh yeah, let's dump some heavy incense, whatever. That's just my personal. Um, but Concubine Wei, who also sent a gift of her own, she sends the eunuch from last time, or from the last time consort she was in the palace, Fan Yunze. And he very much loves like serving her, and he like not like in a weird way, but like he more or less respects her. Like he truly sees her as this powerful figure to be respected. So it's good that she has another ally within like the lower ranks to like move about. She doesn't have to necessarily use people that she doesn't know. And both are really like seemingly caring gestures, right? And I say both because honestly, I don't see how no one is looking like side eye at Concubine on with the incense. And I wanted to notate that because like I feel like Concubine Hui's manner for caring for consort she is to like show this alliance. Like we have trust. Look at this person you made me take care, or not made me, you this person you left in my care. I'm now returning back to you unharmed, unburdened, and nothing like that shows that hey, you trust me enough with this person, like not necessarily a child or anything, but you trust me enough with someone in the camp. I'm gonna make sure they're good. And she does. Yunza has no problem coming back. Buddy has no issues. And then we have Concubine On, who's dropping off like this since long forgotten, pleasant scent, pleasant incense, right? And it's like, it's almost like a sick slap in the face knowing that Concubine On in the past has purposely created fragrances and rubs and ointments to destabilize the pregnancy of Consort She, right? So it really shows who's caring and who's here making an effort, and who basically knows who's their friend is, and who is just more or less trying to be a wicked witch of the West, right? Sorry, that might have peaked. My bad. But anyways, the emperor who's just greeted us with all of this refurbishment and luxury is gone, right? And consort she wastes no time. She gets down to the nitty gritty. She wants to know all the palace news. She wants to know all the potential rumors surrounding her return. She wants to know like all tidbits of like juicy information that she can discern where to strike from, where to go about it, and like what plans and contingencies should she have in place, right? So after she hears all the news, after she's like sifted through the rumors, what have you not, she puts two and two together immediately that one, the Empress is more than likely is like that two pronged approach plan we were talking about. She's more likely enacting that right now, right? Consort Chi is kind of like, oh, she's making me look bad and demanding and causing court officials to be mad at me, and that's one of the reasons why no one wanted her entourage escort position. That's why the newly refurbished palace that she had has like concubine An's like incense that was gifted to her, right? And then two, she's also making herself look, benevolent by doing all these things. By doing all these things, or not doing all these things, she's making herself look benevolent by like categorizing it as like, oh no, I'm doing this to help. Not necessarily the rumors, because the rumors aren't coming from her mouth per se. They're coming from the mouth of concubine Chi's father, right? But at the same time, she's making herself look good by refurbishing the palace in itself and having concubine on put some nice incense in there. So this is another two prong approach that the Empress is trying to do as well. That on one hand, making herself look good in front of the Emperor, on another hand, at the same time, backstabbing her so-called goodwill towards consort and whatnot. So it's just another dynamic that, like, immediately, and this is why the Empress is so scared in the first place. Contra, she hadn't even been in the palace more than a day and has already discerned the plans, who they're from, and how did they get to this level or like degree of in which they're in less than a day. You know what I'm saying? And that's really what scares the Empress is how Consort Shi is so calculating and is able to like sift through all her bullshit. Right? But I digress. Let's move on. Pretty much just to be cautious about the incense that she received from concubine on consort. She asks imperial physician Wen to check, like to sift through like the leaves and make sure there's, or not the leaves, the soot and the actual incense in itself, the powder, make sure there was nothing wrong with it, like there was nothing that if she inhaled it would harm her child, right? He says that it's harmless alone, though. But if it was combined with lang lang, which is a type of incense, a type of oil, I believe, it could somewhat have an aphrodisiac like effect, right? That's weird and creepy because Consort She notes that what does that say about Concubine An, who would try and like set up like a seducing type of agent in her palace, right? Which is, by the way, illegal and punishable by death if you try to seduce the emperor using things like that, using third party methods like that. It's illegal. And so she takes note of that, and she's kind of hinting at like what she's been up to. Because if you remember, a couple episodes ago, when concubine An was sleeping with the emperor would wake up. He'd have a horrible headache, right? And so she would burn. She's like, "Oh, let me burn you some incense," right? As soon as she was done burning it, the emperor, he would calm down, he would relax, he'd go to sleep, and they do the business. But apparently, the next morning, when the emperor's gone and whatnot, she asks Baochi, her maid, throw this away, hide this, don't let anybody see this. If anybody sees this, we're dead, right? So this is hinting at what concubine An has been up to this entire time and how she's been able to garner such attention and favor from the emperor in the first place, right? So after Imperial Physician Wen gives the okay and all the clear on what to do, we do get a little bit of what I could only assume is bonding time with the fourth prince and consort, right? And I noticed he's more than willing to treat him, or excuse me, treat consort Shi as his mother, like as his birth mother. Like he listens immediately and obeys every single word. Like he's hanging on by every single word by a thread. It's really intriguing. And if you have been watching along, if you've been watching for a long time now, you remember that while they were at the Summer Palace every other year, Consort Shi at the time would befriend the young prince, just because he was neglected. He didn't his actual birth mother was like some ugly maid apparently, and the emperor was embarrassed by his birth and having slept with her. But it's like, I don't know, bro. You thinking with the other head, and all of a sudden, you want to blame everybody else but yourself. Okay, fair enough. Whatever, you dumb bitch. But she kind of befriended him, all throughout childhood. So it is not a bad surprise, not a good surprise. It's not a surprise in general, but it is pleasant that that's the route that this is gonna go. I thought they might have caught, like, it might have been some friction between the two because she's been gone out of the the palace for a long time. But no, no, it's really a good thing that like that they'll have this cohesion, because obviously people are gonna try and take advantage of that strained mother child relationship if that were to be their relationship. But speaking of mother and child relationships, consort she goes to greet the empress, and she's there before all the other concubines, right? And they have their little tit for tat. They say their 2 cents. Everyone then comes in, and then the empress, like the evil like she devil that she is, just starts running her mouth off to consort Jing, that since consort she has returned, it's only natural that her daughter Princess Long Yu is returned to her birth mother, right? And that's the empress just being a bitch, honestly, because like I said, concubine, or excuse me, consort she has been banished from the palace 3 years, for 3 years now, and that before she was banished, she had a child. But the emperor didn't care. He didn't pay any attention. She was disillusioned with him. he decided that since she didn't want to submit to him and whatnot, he wanted to go find love wherever else in the other women in the harem. So she pretty much was through her pregnancy alone. So it wasn't a good pregnancy for her emotionally wise, but also deciding to leave and essentially, running from the bullshit that was happening to her at that time, and the deciding to leave the palace and running to the nunnery. She doesn't have a relationship with her daughter, Princess Long Yu, right? She gave Long Yu to Consort Jing just as a safeguard measure, knowing that the Empress wouldn't try anything if Consort Jing had a daughter, right? But here's the Empress trying some bullshit, and now that Consort Shi has returned to the palace, she's she's using that strained tension right there. She's insinuating that, the birth mother obviously takes more precedence than an adopted mother, or adopted parent, I should say, not even mother, but adopted parent. And obviously that's gonna cause some tension between her and Consort Jing, because Consort Jing has had Long Yu for almost three and a half years now. And though she knew that at one day maybe Consort Shi would come back, she didn't think that it would be in such a manner that she would not have Long Yu anymore, right? And so this is the Empress, still just going like beat by beat, just constantly heading and like going for Consort Chi's throat. Like she's not leaving any room for her. She's creating the rumors in court. She has concubine on, all in her face with these presents, and that's probably gonna lead to something because once again, aphrodisiac like fact, that's legal, can't do that. And now she's creating a rift between Consort Jing and, therefore creating strain on Princess Long Yu by forcing Consort Chi to, essentially raise Long Yu and say, come back. And of course, Consort Chi would love that, right? She would really love that. But I think she knows that that's not right and that she's not going to be able to do that, right? But moments later, we leave the Empress's palace. Consort Shi runs into Noble Lady Ning. Noble Lady Ning is someone who was added into the harem. That was against her will. She did not want to marry the Emperor, but he was so enamored with her and her. She was a horse trainer in the palace. He was so enamored by her and her nature. Apparently, he was just so overcome that he had to have her. And you can't say no to the Emperor. At least you really want to die, right? You and your entire clan at that point. So she doesn't want to be here, right? And she doesn't really care for the dramatics or the people of the harem. She even so much so because she really hated the emperor, right? She was already taking contraceptive pills to prevent her to getting pregnant, but even it didn't even bother her at all that people were, because they, of course, people in the harem are jealous. They're gonna assume that, oh, she's getting all this favor, we have to guard against her. So someone had already sent, and that someone is the empress, no surprise. The empress had sent someone to send, it was another consort, I forgot her name, but we she had another consort send um like a I wouldn't say a poison, but a sterile medicine disguised as like a soup to Noble Lady Ning. And Noble Lady Ning, knowing exactly what it was, but not caring, because once again, she doesn't want to be here in the first place, just happily drank it and just threw the bowl on the ground. And that was that, right? But anyways, I say that about her character because she's very abrupt. She doesn't really, she's not showing face to the newly named consort. She doesn't, she's very rude, harsh, like blunt, pretty much all that shit, all the synonyms. And so she immediately is like, I'm sick. She uses the excuse of being sick to avoid having to continue to converse with Consort Shi, and just decides to just immediately walk away, not even leaving room for Consort Shi to like, answer back or nothing. And honestly, it doesn't bother Consort Shi. She just kind of smiles and shrugs it off. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. 'Cause I feel like Consort Shi is just like, she's not gonna be a problem. Who cares? Just let her, do what she wants. It'll be whatever. She's not gonna be a problem for me, in my opinion. But we finally get to see a proper reunion of concubine Hui and consort Shi, and of course, it doesn't last long before they have to start talking about the Empress and all these plots that have been going on in the past couple days, right? They find out that she's also been using the astrologers of the court to try and keep her out. And that was the whole, incident with the Empress Dowager, her palace catching on fire, the Empress, falling and hurting her ankle, all of these calamities apparently happening, having to deal with Consort Shi. They find out that's the Empress, and they decide that, you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna, by defending ourselves in a way to as to not gives ourselves away at all, we're gonna plan our own spies. We're not gonna worry about what she's got going on, but we're gonna do our own thing, and they do. And Consort Shi, I really understand um, this next scene with her and concubine Hui. Consort Shi pretty much explains that she extends somewhat of an olive branch towards noble Lady Ning, um, and Concubine Hui is like, no, that girl is trouble. She's clearly like a hothead, and anyone around her is like gonna get in trouble. But I understand why Consort she's like, you know what? I don't think she's actually gonna be a problem. You're right. I don't think she's gonna be someone, or at least a problem for me in terms of what I'm trying to do in eliminating the Empress. It doesn't seem like she even wants to be right. And she even says like it's not even because the emperor favors her. Some courtesies can't be avoided. I would still have to be nice. Um, but there's just something about her that tells me that she'll be okay, right? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, maybe Consort she's planning something here. Maybe this is a ploy that we don't know about yet. We the viewers are in the dark, right? But we don't have much time to digest that. Um, Next scene, really, really fucked. Princess Long Yu and Consort Jing have come to greet Consort Shi at her palace. And as I stated earlier, this is nothing but a forced reunion, right? And the Empress is only gonna cause pain and heartache for everyone involved. And ultimately, Consort Shi, she's seeing the pain. Hothead, lol. Yeah, exactly. Fucking crazy. Like she's a hothead, and I feel like Noble Lady Ning doesn't care that if she offends somebody, she gets killed because she genuinely hates every single part of being in the palace. Like it's crazy how like I wouldn't even say headstrong. Like what is the word when you're like it's like where you're you're like willing to run face like face first into danger, and you don't really care about like the consequences. Reckless is a good way, but that it's a particular word. But moving on, I'm getting like backtracked. Yes, we were talking about the forced reunion that the Empress is having by or the forced reunion that the Empress is conducting by having Consort Jing bring Princess Long Yu over, and like how everyone in that situation is getting hurt. And the opposite of a hothead, stupidity, exactly. The opposite of being stupid, Consort Shi is actually being kind and, pretty much reading the fucking room and realizing like this isn't gonna do any good for anyone involved. And like I said, she really wants to be there for Princess Long Yu. She wants to be her mother, but she understands that just up and ripping her away from Consort Jing, the woman Long Yu has been calling mother, isn't gonna make Long Yu love her more. In fact, it might make her hate her, you know? But the next scene, I don't understand the next scene because it was like, why you gotta do all that? It had my it had my blood boil because I feel like I get the reasoning doesn't mean I agree with the method, right? The Empress Dowager pretty much had like this whole like first 48 interrogation. And she's basically sussing out the intentions of Consort Shi and why she came back to the palace. When she had just left 3 years, and she didn't care about the fact that she had a newborn daughter on the way, and that she was just basically leaving the emperor with no choice, right? So now that she's pregnant, like what is your intention in coming back? So I get the reason why she wants to do that. The way she's going about it, mind you, Consort she's already pregnant. Consort she and then the Empress Dowager is very much aware that the Empress is doing things that are causing direct harm to like children in general and to the bloodline, that so much so that she's willing to allow Consort Shi to come back. Knowing that she knows all that, why does she have this poor woman who's like 3 months pregnant kneeling on the floor? And it's not really kneeling, it's more like a koto or a bow, where her hands placed to the side, so she's like one leg up, one leg like resting down for like all of 30 minutes, right? And even Concubine Wei, who tried to put in a quick, hey, Empress Dowager lady, and then Empress Dowager like, shut the fuck up. I'm talking here. I didn't ask you no questions. I'm talking to her. Like, she really was like, I'm talking to her right now. Don't interrupt me. And she like interrogated this poor woman like for 30, 40 minutes, right? Eventually, she chills out. Eventually, she lets up and relents on the interrogation itself. And Concubine Wei is, she was like, or no, excuse me, consort she I keep saying their names. The Empress Dowager does it in such a fucking like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? You clearly were the one who did this. She does it in such a way where she's like, "Oh, why didn't you tell me I had her kneeling on the ground for so long? Someone get her a seat." Like, she does like that shit, and it's like, ma'am, ma'am, 5 minutes ago you told me to shut the fuck up when I tried to say something. And I just could do nothing but laugh at that point, right? Eventually the Empress Dowager, she does reveal somewhat of her intentions in allowing Consort Shi back. And she wants Consort Shi and Concubine Hui to work together, a faction of their own, to try and bring peace to the Emperor. Because I guess by like some extension, bringing peace to the Emperor brings peace to the nation. And so she knows that Concubine Wei is very sensible, and she would advise him on how to handle matters, not necessarily of the court, but how to regulate him. Whereas Consort Shi completely is the apple of his eye and has his heart entirely, and she knows that she'll be able to counsel him in such a way that it won't cause too much of an issue. She won't be killing off people's kids. She won't be just hanging concubines left and right because they're rude or whatnot. And they pretty much just get her blessing. And that's the end of episode 56. Final thoughts. Honestly, honest, honestly, guys, another roller coaster, especially towards the end there, another roller coaster. Like, so much happened in 40 minutes. Like, oh shit. Like, the Empress is coming from left and right and up and down, side to side and perpendicular. Like, the Empress isn't letting up. But then Concubine An and Concubine Chi are doing like their thing, but then Noble Lady Ning isn't really fucking with none of that. But then Concubine Hui is there as her right leg. There's so many chess pieces are moving, so much that happened in 40 minutes. Like, God. Oh, anyways, we know that the Empress in her camp is full force assaulting, full frontal assault on Concubine She in her camp, and pretty much the outcome of that is just probably the death of like 3 to 4 people. Like, for just off of what I know from C dramas, it's not gonna end lightly, like, at all. But with that being said, chat, I have to go right quick.